Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
He's going down.
Lucky to be alive.
I actually said the heck with COVID, went up and shook his hand going, I can't believe you're still alive.
2 people survive a helicopter crash on Bowen Island.
Boom!
Also,
the more vaccine we have, clearly the sooner we can give everyone their first dose and then subsequent to that their second dose, so this is good news.
And now there are 4. What Canada's approval of another COVID vaccine means for BC. And
this coyote came out of the trails from the other side of the road, crossed the road, and attacked me from behind and bit my right leg.
the warning from a jogger attacked in Stanley Park by a coyote.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
He's going down. He's going down.
He's going down, all right.
Boom!
Good evening. The pilot and another person were on board the chopper that crashed this morning on Bowen Island.
Remarkably, both of the men survived. In fact, they walked away from the wreckage.
He's going down. He's going down.
He's going down, all right.
Boom!
The crash happened just before 10 o'clock this morning near Mount Gardner, near the dock there. That's on the north side of Bowen Island. The pilot was apparently attempting to land in a field. Emergency crews and an air ambulance rushed to the scene. Islanders who witnessed the crash couldn't believe anyone survived.
If I'd seen it after everything was done, nobody walked away, is what I would have thought. And Paul, the pilot, one of the pilots, I knew him, I said, it was nice of you to drop in, but give me a call next time, okay? Anyways, they're okay, and that's all that matters.
The 2 men were taken to hospital by air ambulance, but their injuries are relatively minor. It's not clear why the chopper went down, but there were strong wind gusts at the time. An investigation is now underway to try to figure out what went wrong. And those strong winds we just mentioned did cause problems elsewhere on the south coast. The wind knocking out power and sending trees crashing down. The trunk of this cedar was split in 2, causing half of the tree to fall onto the roof of the Kerrisdale Lawn Bowling Club. The cedar, which appears at least 30 feet tall, also took out some lighting equipment. The clubhouse is currently closed for the season. No word if anyone was on site when the tree broke in 2. And let's bring in Nick Czernkovich now with more on this. It certainly packed a punch, the winds this morning, albeit briefly. You've been taking a look at what we saw here on the coast.
Yeah, we've had a number of stations reporting close to or even exceeding 100 kilometers per hour, and a lot of these coming through the morning hours. Vancouver Airport, for example, reporting its peak gust at 10 a.m. this morning. There's a look at some of the other numbers around the area. Now, just to draw attention to it, Pam Rocks is very close to Bowen Island, and that's Bowen Island there that's circled in the red. Pam Rocks reporting about 107 kilometers per hour at its peak today. And one of the things you have to take into consideration here too is that southeasterly wind that goes right up the strait. So that tends to funnel these winds, and that can actually accelerate it through the mountains. Anybody that's spent time flying in the mountains will know that it can be very unpredictable. So that's what we were looking at today. And of course, even right in Vancouver, we saw gusts up to about 70 kilometers per hour through the morning hours today. Now, we're not done with the winds just yet. They're going to sort of peter out as we head through tomorrow morning, but as we move into tomorrow evening, they're going to pick up again. I don't think they're going to be as strong as what they were this morning, but we're still looking at gusts in the neighborhood of about 50 kilometers per hour. Obviously, on the coast of Vancouver Island, we could see gusts up to about 80 kilometers per hour. So into Sunday, look for some more gusty conditions. For tomorrow, though, a little bit of a break from the winds. Also a bit of a break from the rainfall as well. A few showers as we head through tonight, tapers off. We might actually see the sunshine as we head into tomorrow afternoon. Mike and Tina.
Thank you so much, Nick, and we'll check back with you a little later in the show. Canada now has a fourth vaccine approved for use. The Johnson & Johnson dose requires only one shot, and that could be a game changer. And as David Cochrane explains tonight, the good news doesn't end there, with one of Canada's other suppliers ready to step up its deliveries.
Dr. Supriya Sharma gave the country another reason to smile, exactly 1 week after she announced the approval of AstraZeneca, the green light for Johnson & Johnson.
I would not hesitate to roll up my sleeve and get any of the vaccines that we have authorized by Health Canada.
It was a double dose of good news, a new single-shot vaccine to use, and even more doses coming early.
Pfizer has informed us that we are able to move up the delivery of 3.5 million doses from the summer into the next couple of months.
Those accelerated deliveries include another 1.5 million Pfizer doses before the end of the month and 2 million during April and May.
In all, Canada is on track to receive at least 36.5 million doses of vaccines by the end of June.
So enough total doses to give every adult a shot by Canada Day. And that will only grow as AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson deliveries are confirmed for this spring. Multiple vaccines from multiple sources, all capable of the most important thing.
All of the vaccines are good vaccines. They all do. So, if we think about it, the thing that has sort of threatened us the most about COVID-19 is its ability to kill, right? All of the vaccines, for all intents and purposes, squash that.
This is what Canada was counting on in its vaccine strategy, multiple suppliers ramping up deliveries at the same time. That once hopeful target of vaccinating the country by September now increasingly looks like a worst-case scenario. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
So what will this fourth vaccine and the arrival of more Pfizer vaccine mean for BC? And could we see a return to some semblance of normalcy sooner than expected? CBC's Justin McElroy is here tonight. And Justin, the BC government originally said September for all of us to be vaccinated, then July, and now you think it might be June?
Yeah, we actually heard this from Dr. Bonnie Henry this week, and then she backtracked a little bit. But that addition of 3.5 million Pfizer doses coming in the next 4 months could make a big difference. So let's take a look at a chart here. There are approximately right now 3.8 million British Columbians who are eligible to receive the vaccine, but haven't yet. The Canadian government is promising just over 30 million doses total of the Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca by the end of June. Now, do the math around what BC's population is, and you're looking at that 3.8 million all having an opportunity to get one shot by the end of June. Now, that doesn't include doses that might not get used, but it doesn't include the Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca supply that may be coming on board in the next few months. So reason to be optimistic, but Health Minister Adrian Dix says they're still not quite ready to change those timelines just yet.
Remember what we're talking about. First doses is what Dr. Henry said. We have to complete immunization with second doses, and that will carry on well through the summer. But we're hopeful, we were hopeful last Monday that we could get everyone who won their first dose by July, and it may be that time can be moved up now that we're seeing more vaccine coming to BC.
And it is encouraging, Justin, but what are the biggest roadblocks to all of this actually happening?
Well, a big one, of course, is getting that supply that's promised. You know, we're down this road in February with Pfizer and Moderna not being able to give the amount they originally promised. If that happened, you can forget doing these calendar projections. But the other one is BC has to show that it can vaccinate 40, 50, 60, even 70,000 people a day. That hasn't happened yet. We'll start to see that begin with call centers next week, but that's going to be a big question whether BC has the logistical capacity here to get all the millions of people in a much shorter time frame than originally promised that first dose.
All right, we'll be watching that very closely. Justin McElroy reporting for us tonight.
All right, so even with that good news on the vaccine front, are British Columbians buying into the optimism?
We asked people in Vancouver what they think about the possibility of returning to a post-pandemic world sooner than expected.
I'm very hopeful. It's very exciting that all these new vaccines are finally coming and people are finally getting vaccinated all over Canada, so it's really wonderful.
Willing to wait a little bit longer. Like, I'd rather not be premature and then have to lock down again. I'd like to just kind of take a more conservative approach.
I will be cautious, very cautious and respectful, but I'm not going to let what's going on in the world control what I'm looking at.
I want people to still be able to enjoy the nature, have more freedom, but still be cautious. The world, I don't think will be the same as before. Still not fearful, but careful.
All right, well, all that good news does come with a caveat. It's become clear BC's COVID-19 case numbers are trending in the wrong direction. Those signs appearing as another 4 people have died from the virus. 634 new cases represents the highest one-day total since January 7th, when our numbers were on the decline. And active cases saw a huge jump of 158 today as well. Hospitalizations are up by 600 people, 66 people are in critical or intensive care.
And CBC British Columbia is going to be taking your questions about the vaccine and our province's rollout plan straight to provincial officials. We're hosting a virtual town hall on Wednesday. Dr. Bonnie Henry, Health Minister Adrian Dix, and other experts and officials are going to be on hand to answer your questions live. Our Shot will air on TV, on CBC Gem, online, and on CBC Radio. And it's going to be hosted by Stephen Quinn and Anita Bath. Find the details at cbc.ca/Our Shot and send your questions to bcasks@cbc.ca.
A jogger who was attacked by a coyote is calling for change and calling for it fast.
She wants the city to shut down Stanley Park temporarily while it gets the coyote attacks there under control.
As our Zara Premji explains, she's suffering in pain, without a job, and fears she won't be the last.
Running in Stanley Park out in the open, nowhere near a trail, it's something Azzy Ramzani has done for the last 10 years. But in the early evening of January 21st, one run near Hollow Tree changed her whole life. She heard the growl of the coyote first.
And attacked me from behind and bit my right leg and the lower part of the leg. And when the animal bites you, they look like prey to them. So when they bite you, the teeth go deep into your skin. You hurt, and it's very likely that you fall.
And she did, detaching her hamstring as she went down. Now, weeks later after surgery and losing her job in the process, she's moved to Victoria to live with her parents as she recovers for the next 6 months.
I can't sit, I can't walk. All I can do is to stand.
She's just one of at least 15 people that's been bitten and attacked by a coyote in Stanley Park over the last 3 months. And while she doesn't want to see coyotes killed, she wants to see more aggressive management of the problem. Ramzani would like to see Stanley Park temporarily shut down while officials figure out how to manage the problem. The Conservation Office says it doesn't think the park can close, but warns runners and people moving fast are being targeted.
If you can go run somewhere else for a bit of time, for the next few weeks or few months, it's probably a good idea.
The Stanley Park Ecology Society says the goal is to have wildlife and humans cohabitate. So while shutting down the park may not be feasible, there's a technique called hazing being used to scare the coyotes.
We could use noisemakers. A whistle is easy enough to carry around with you, but I do suggest something that's more sort of banging.
But all scaring tactics aside, conservation says the root problem must be addressed.
So if you go in the park and feed a coyote, you're pretty much teaching him that the humans are a source of food.
In the meantime, park officials are warning if you don't need to be out at Stanley Park during this breeding season for coyotes right now, then don't go. And Ramzani warns from her own experience, don't take the chance. Zara Premji, CBC News, Vancouver.
The driver involved in a car crash that killed a teenage lacrosse player has been sentenced to 5 months in jail. 45-year-old Chao Chen pleaded guilty last month to impaired driving. He's also banned from driving for 3 years and then will be under a 2-year driving probation. The crash back in 2018 killed 19-year-old Olivia Malcolm and injured her female companion. Chen's Jeep hit Malcolm's vehicle on Highway 17A as she was outside the vehicle with her trunk open.
Almost 4 years ago now, a man was found dead in a torched SUV just north of Squamish.
He'd been shot, but his real identity wasn't revealed until 3 years after the murder.
As Yvette Bren reports, now his girlfriend is speaking out, eager to keep police working on this cold case into the killing of a man with a Nazi past and a crypto fortune.
They met in a climbing gym 6 years ago.
I knew he was smart, I knew he was rich, and that we'd get along like a house on fire.
Soon, the pair were living off the grid and climbing full time.
I came out in April 2016 to Squamish and dove straight into the dirtbag lifestyle.
It was out here near Cat Lake where McLennan woke up one morning and noticed Jesse wasn't around. So she headed to his SUV and found a crime scene with police tape circling the vehicle.
Well, he had a lot of secrets, and I was evidently shielded from a lot, but I can't say what drives somebody to murder. Yeah.
3 years after he was shot, police revealed that the man known as Jesse James was actually an American running from his past. Britt Greenbaum was a neo-Nazi leader in his 20s at college and later the focus of a $12 million lawsuit after he masterminded a massive spam campaign selling everything from porn to penis enlargement pills. He also organized white power rallies, but in 2004 he recanted his racist beliefs and then simply vanished.
I feel that my philosophy has matured. I'm a positivist and I'm an extreme narcissist. I only care about things that impact me.
It was sickening to learn of his past as a hate monger, but overall a blessing to connect with his father and with some of his old-time friends. So I'm glad for the truth to come out.
The murder remains a mystery. McLennan is convinced it's somebody after his online cash.
Reports of his wealth are greatly underestimated. He was a crypto billionaire,
What makes you think
not millionaire.
Homicide investigators say they're still probing many angles, including the possibility that he was shot by a hunter. McLennan says whatever his past, he deserves justice.
He was certainly a positive influence in my life. He's with me for life, yeah.
Yvette Bren, CBC News, Vancouver.
A Crown lawyer at the extradition hearing of Meng Wanzhou says the geopolitical winds surrounding the Huawei executive must be ignored. Robert Frater argues the judge should focus on the legal context of the case and that any references to Donald Trump are not relevant. It's in response to Meng's legal team, which brought up comments from the former U.S. president. Trump said shortly after Meng's arrest at YVR during trade talks with China, he would intervene in the case if necessary. Meng's legal team wants the hearing dismissed. Bringing politics into the courtroom is no accident, according to a legal observer.
So although the defense may have missed target in the legal argument of political interference by former President Trump, it may have hit the goal by claiming political interference by former President Trump enables the Canadian minister to shut down the extradition case, as that minister is legally entitled to do under our Extradition Act.
Meng is wanted in the United States on fraud charges that both she and Huawei deny.
For years, the Douglas Lake Cattle Company has been battling the Nicola Valley Fish and Game Club over access to 2 trout lakes near Merritt. Today, the ranch won the latest court case in the matter. The BC Court of Appeal has overturned part of a previous ruling that decided the lakes should be publicly accessible. While the lakes are public, the appeal judges ruled the trails and roads leading to them are not, closing off access again. CBC has learned the club hopes to file an appeal with the Supreme Court of Canada. The lakes lie within the largest working cattle ranch in Canada, and it's owned by American billionaire Stan Kronk.
Well, soft drink fans might not find prices all that sweet coming next month. That's when sugary beverages in our province will be taxable. The tax changes were delayed because of the pandemic, but come April 1st, it means PST on all sweetened and artificially sweetened carbonated beverages. The province says the move is due to the healthcare costs and impact of sweetened drinks. Well, a Vancouver woman is thanking a Chilliwack couple who found her lost cell phone this week. And get this, they found it at the bottom of Harrison Lake.
And as Rafferty Baker reports, the phone still worked almost perfectly after nearly 6 months underwater.
I was just in complete shock initially to start with. It just felt like a zombie phone come back to me because I had totally made peace with it being gone.
Fatima Godse's story began in early September. She and a friend were enjoying themselves at Harrison Lake.
So I was on the bumper boat with my friend actually, and so I was in a situation where I kind of lost balance and dropped in the water.
These clips are the last thing she recorded on the phone before it fell to the bottom of the lake.
Distressed and in tears, we went back to Vancouver. It's kind of hopeless.
Godse moved on and got a new phone, but this week she got some very unexpected news. A couple of divers happened to be scouring the lake bottom for lost items and trash.
Here you go. So under that water park there, everyone has their cell phones, I guess, filming, they're having fun, and stuff just drops, I guess. Lots of sunglasses there, and like I say, in the summer it's a little bit deeper, so your typical person isn't going to be able to swim down to get it.
Last year, Halkenberg says he found more than 100 pairs of sunglasses, dozens of phones, and GoPro cameras. But most of what he finds is just trash he hauls to the shore.
The most common thing for sure is garbage, so you're going to have cans and bottles. That's the number one thing for sure.
It was actually his wife, Heather, who spotted Godse's phone.
I think that's my first phone. Oh, yeah. Yay!
So it was about 6 months it was underwater for, and took it home, cleaned the dirt off of it, and it just turned right on. So it's pretty amazing.
Halkenberg pulled out the SIM card and put it in another phone to find the owner's number.
She thought there was no way that she was ever going to get that phone back. So she was a little skeptical at first, and then I talked to her on the phone a bit, and she was super excited.
Yeah, it was just amazing that the phone had survived 6 months underwater.
Godse picked it up this week.
And it works.
Recovering lost photos, contacts, and other private info. She was grateful to the Halkenbergs for finding the phone and tracking her down, but even more for their work cleaning up underwater garbage.
I'm just honestly inspired to keep our waters clean more than anything as well.
Rafferty Baker, CBC News, Vancouver.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. This guy wouldn't survive, I don't think.
No, you drop your phone in the swimming pool and it's done. But, that long?
Or the ocean,
crazy.
salt water. This is obviously freshwater, so that worked out well all this time later. Okay, just a quick reminder, you can also watch our newscasts live on CBC Gem.
CBC Vancouver is also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
Remembering Canada's hockey dad. Coming up, tributes to Walter Gretzky, who passed away last night.
Good evening, and thanks for sticking with us during our commercial-free live stream. Well, at only 6 years old, Paraniska Mishra is already singing on the international stage.
The grade 1 student from Ontario recently sang the national anthem at a Washington Wizards game after winning a contest.
We spoke to her and her dad about the experience and what's coming up next for them.
I was not scared. I was a little bit nervous. I just practiced and then I got confidence.
Since she was 2 years old, she started humming, we realized what is she trying to do, and then we realized that actually she's singing with her own gibberish language. She's having a lot of interest in singing, and then eventually by the age of 4.5, we put her in piano classes as well. Around 5.5, she started singing really for local communities. Finally, she got to sing for NCAA, and from there actually she got a recommendation and got invitation to sing for NBA. So I literally don't believe in this traditional upbringing of like where you have to study and then go to school and either become doctor, engineer or something. If she is interested in something, I would definitely support that. She has been practicing both O Canada and O Save for US for last 1 year. The vice principal of her school, Halton District School, she has requested me to record an O Canada video of her so that they can play it every day in the morning.
I feel proud and happy.
We really want her to sing even for Toronto Raptors, Maples, whatever it is. Like that will be really an honor for us to sing for the country.
Wow.
Grade 1. So if you couldn't see her and you just, heard it, what would you think?
Unbelievable. Like, really, I can't wait to see where she'll be in, 10 years from now.
Exactly. Okay, I'm marking that on the calendar for 10 years from now. We'll check that out. Okay, stay with us. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, we're going to go in depth on criticism of China's new plans for Hong Kong and the backlash it is receiving. Stay right here.
Healthcare is a universal right here in Canada, but a CBC News investigation found that the quality of care can take a downturn in prisons.
Some prisoners across the country are coming out much sicker than when they went in.
And as George Barrera reports, some are suing the federal government.
Gary Gorell is dying.
It's like someone taking you into the middle of the ocean, and as you're going down the water, you're fighting to get up to the top to get air.
He says the federal prison health system put him in this state.
Why couldn't I have did the right job so I wouldn't be like this?
Gorell is maybe weeks, a month away from the end of his life, shackled by tubes in the Scarborough apartment. Gorell entered prison on his feet in 2018 to serve a 9-year sentence for his role as driver in a violent armed robbery. He had a chronic lung disease managed with medicine, but 2 years later, he rolled out of Beaver Creek in a wheelchair, dying, released by the federal parole board because of his failing health. Gorell has one fight left, suing the federal government.
I would characterize the treatment of my client as deplorable.
His statement of claim alleges he was denied oxygen and medication, not taken to appointments with specialists, mocked by health staff. He ended up on life support 7 times.
It wasn't like I was begging him for a narcotic. I was asking something for oxygen. I was asking him for inhalers.
The federal government denies all Gorell's allegations in its statement of defense.
And so I do think that that this has cost him his life.
Gorell isn't alone. Stories like his are found throughout the federal prison system, according to prisoners' rights advocates. Catherine Latimer's organization recently filed a case alleging federal prison health care violates the charter rights of those behind bars.
It's fundamentally a cultural problem within correctional services of Canada. They don't see them as fellow human beings.
Gorell won't live to see the end of any of these cases or be there to watch his grandchildren, great-grandchildren grow up.
I want to cry because I can't hold them, can't touch them, and I'm stuck in this bed. This is my life now.
Waiting to take his last breath. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Ottawa.
China wants to further tighten its grip on Hong Kong and is warning the world not to interfere. Beijing has been chipping away at Hong Kong's freedoms and cracking down on protesters.
Now, as Sasha Petrusik tells us, it's planning to tip the voting rules in its own favor.
In the Great Hall of the People, it was China's top leaders taking a victory lap. President Xi Jinping cast as the savior of a country which, just a year ago, questioned his ability to manage the emerging COVID crisis. Now, Premier Li Keqiang vows the economy will grow at least 6% this year, a rate the West can only envy.
China has emerged stronger post-pandemic. In the domestic front, the government has enjoyed greater degree of legitimacy.
Still, amid the display today of China's rise, there are also signs of insecurity about its ability to control Hong Kong and its democratic movement. Just this week, almost 50 pro-democracy activists were arrested and spent days in a marathon court hearing, all for trying to run in Hong Kong's local elections. 4 were released on bail.
I'm very tired. I miss my family so much.
More than 40 remain in prison in a campaign by Beijing to intimidate opposition voices. China now plans to go further, revamping Hong Kong's political system to exclude anti-Beijing candidates as unpatriotic, even if they've proven popular in months of street demonstrations.
This is, I would say, a little bit overkill.
Man Nok teaches at the Chinese University of Hong Kong.
Actually, I think it is already very difficult for the opposition to find somebody to be willing to run, because it is a game that you are not allowed to win. And then by serving as a candidate, you put yourself in danger.
These days in Hong Kong, it's a risk even for political scientists to comment on Beijing's actions, another sign of how determined China's leadership is to protect its advantage post-pandemic. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
The man many called Canada's hockey dad has died.
Walter Gretzky, Wayne's dad, died Thursday at the age of 82. Matthew Cullen looks back tonight on his life and legacy.
It's everything I am was because of him. I mean, it's as simple as that.
The words spoken by the Great One about his father in 1996. Walter Gretzky was known as Canada's most famous hockey dad. He was a working-class man who raised his family in Brantford, Ontario. Although he never played in the NHL, he made a backyard rink where his eldest son, Wayne, learned and eventually became the greatest hockey player on the planet.
And across the line, Gretzky, you're in front, score!
A member of the Order of Canada, tributes and stories of Walter Gretzky have been pouring in since the world learned of his passing late on Thursday night.
Courteous, polite, first-class person. And, just to give his time to each and every person.
NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman referred to him as quiet and humble with a deep commitment of improving the lives of so many, while Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called him Canada's hockey dad. But Walter's legacy goes well beyond the hockey community. He was gracious with his time and spent countless hours working with charities, including the Canadian National Institute for the Blind.
Each year, children from right across the country were provided with scholarships to be able to attend this camp. And Walter, each and every year, was the keynote speaker at that camp.
The Gretzky name is multi-generational. Even children who didn't get to see Wayne play in the NHL know the name. In Brantford, Walter was one of the pillars of the hockey community, spending hours at the local ice rinks with children, including local goalie Hunter Jones, who is now a prospect of the NHL's Minnesota Wild.
If there was something going on in Brantford that involved hockey, he was going to be there and show support. Having Walter around the rink, it kind of emphasizes that and what Wayne's done with the game. And I think it's a pretty cool aspect that to be around, and I'm glad I was a part of it.
Described as patient and humble, his advice for Wayne in hockey was always simple.
Oh, I would just tell him to play good.
Walter Gretzky was 82 years old. Matt Cullen, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, 2 designers in Victoria took their passion for creation into an underserved market. How their prosthetic designs are changing lives and perceptions. Next.
Saturday, March 20th. The
The National with Kevin Newman.
Provincial governments are looking everywhere to trim costs these days. In British Columbia, the Transportation Museum is one of the latest victims of budget cuts. The government says it was simply losing too much money. So today in suburban Vancouver, more than 100 of the museum's antique cars and trucks were auctioned off. As Ian Hannamansing reports, this time people were paying big money for their own piece of nostalgia.
It was a museum filled with chrome and rubber and a lot of memories. Cars that some might only have read about, cars that others remembered.
Well, a lot of them is what I grew up with. The Model T and the old 28 Chevs and those sort of things. Oh, yeah, they're great.
There were well over 100 antique cars and trucks at the British Columbia Transportation Museum, but only about 25,000 people a year visited. The museum was losing $500,000 a year. And so the provincial government decided to shut it down and sell almost everything.
It seems such a crying shame to, look at all this history that we've got around us and just see it, after the sale, it'll be gone.
And as car buffs and potential buyers looked over the vintage vehicles this week, many fretted over rumors that wealthy Americans were going to buy up the best cars and take them home.
It's a shame to see these go to the Americans. That's where they'll all go. And they'll never be put together again.
Despite the misgivings some people had about the sale of these cars and the closing down of the museum, when the auction began today, the room was crowded, the bidding was quick, and the prices seemed to surprise even some of the buyers. Like this man who picked up a 52 Chevy in frenzied bidding, but he wasn't sure for how much.
I think it was 52 or 5,200, 5,500.
Among the highlights of the day, this 1929 Packard went for $82,000. And this 1936 Lincoln, a mere $39,000.
I got the car, yeah.
What do you think?
It's a great car.
In the end, the auctioneer said the rumored rush of American buyers never really happened. Wherever they came from, all buyers now have 1 week to drive or tow their purchases out of here. Ian Hannamansing, CBC News, Cloverdale.
And that's the National for Saturday, March the 20th. Wendy Mesley will be here tomorrow with Sunday Report. And because of the CBC's coverage of the Juno Awards, Sunday Report will be seen an hour later than usual in Atlantic Canada. For CBC News, I'm Kevin Newman. Good night.
Here are some of the stories we're following tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
They just walked around, they phoned their wives, and they had cuts and bruises and stuff, but nothing serious at all.
An unbelievable scene. 2 people airlifted to hospital after a helicopter crashed this morning on Bowen Island. Witnesses say the chopper flipped upside down before crashing on the north side of the island.
But this is great news for everyone to have another vaccine, a 4th vaccine now that will be available.
Could it be a game changer in BC? Johnson & Johnson, its vaccine is 1 dose, requires just 1 shot. Meanwhile, other vaccine suppliers are stepping up their deliveries to Canada.
And when the animal bites you, they look like prey to them. So when they bite you, the teeth go deep into your skin. You hurt, and it's very likely that you'll fall.
A jogger who was attacked by a coyote in Stanley Park wants to see the city take serious and swift action by temporarily shutting down the park until it gets the coyote attacks under control.
Choice. It's a consumer's world, so there is plenty of it.
But in the world of everything at the click of a mouse key, not everyone gets the choices they're looking for. That's where 2 innovative designers saw a need and filled the gap.
In this Creator Network film, we take you to Victoria and introduce you to the designers and clients of All L's Design Studio.
I was scared when I got my amputation. I didn't know what my life was going to be like. I thought I was going to have to hide it or wear silicone leg covers that make it look more realistic. But I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want to hide the fact that I had an amputation. I wanted to put it out there in a way that made me feel good without making it too obvious, but not hiding it.
I think it's ultimately people are put in a difficult spot when they don't have choice in every kind of realm of their life. And I think that like fundamentally from the beginning of the studio, we're like, we just want to create options for people because there are no options.
We wanted to allow people to make the choices on their own. Like, this is going to work for you. There's no other options. We wanted people to be able to shop like they would shoes.
There's all these different companies, there's all these different styles. Some of them are like hiking boots, some are like wildly impractical heels, and people buy them because it suits them, it suits what they're doing, and that's the point. To give people choice, it'll help them do what they want to do and feel how they want to feel.
You know, obviously you want to look cool or, you know, together, right? And obviously having a medical device wasn't going to do that for me. I was talking a lot with my prosthetist about options, and he mentioned to me about this brand new little startup company that was, you know, making these prosthetic covers. For me, immediately, I was just like, wow, this is really cool. Of course I have to have this because this is gonna make it look less like a medical device. So, purchased that, wore it for a while, loved it, so many compliments everywhere I went. So immediately with that, it changed it for me from people looking at me saying, oh, the poor bugger, he's lost his leg, to saying, hey, what's that? Like, that looks really cool.
I think a lot of times the people in the medical world are dealing so technically that they forget about when people leave the clinic and when people leave the hospital, that they're interacting with their friends. They're going and hanging out and exchanging clothes with their sisters. People aren't thinking of the social implications of what these devices mean in a daily life outside the clinic. And I think that's a perspective that designers and artists naturally do.
To be able to wear art on yourself, to feel like a piece of art yourself is just the best feeling in the world. I feel like I can just go out there and people are looking at me and they're not looking at me and saying, you know, this is an amputee. They're looking at me and being like, oh my God, like, is this girl a model? Like, what's going on? They get excited about it. You know, even though it's just a cover, it doesn't do anything but make you look good. It gives you more to your life. I don't know how. I don't know why they managed to, as two able-bodied people, to create this company that made my group of people, you know, amputees, feel so special and out there in such a positive way.
You know, like a lot of these things, you wonder why hasn't this been done before? It's pretty cool, that's for sure.
It is amazing to see the innovation and the positive change that people are making.
Yeah, nice artwork.
It's inspiring.
Okay, in the face of a terrifying ordeal, how this young man saved his sister's life thanks to some quick thinking and aid from emergency responders.
Coming up on 6:42, here's a live look at BC Place. Well, the weekend is here. How wet and how windy is it going to be? Nick is going to join us with your full weather coming up.
I'd like to show you something over here. Over here is the house that I lived in as a little boy until I got married. I was 21 years old when I left the house. Anyways, that is Wayne on the river here on the ice. That's me. That's my mother and my sister here. Up here at the river was what was known as the deep hole. And that's everybody came swimming there on the weekends. And there was a tree there, and they had a big branch on it and a rope. And the teenagers would all swing on this rope and dive off and jump off. It was off limits to us young people, of course. And I didn't know how to swim. I was 7 or 8 years old. I still didn't know how to swim. And one day I thought, well, I'm gonna get on that swing. So I went and got a big long stick. And I went over here to what's known as the deep hole. And I stood at the edge of the bank, and I hit the rope, and I hit it again. And it came up on the bank. I was pretty smart as a 7 or 8 year old. Never been on a swing in my life. Never knew that it doesn't come back the same distance each time. I was so proud of myself. I remember I swung out there 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden I realized I didn't make it back to the bank. And I remember hanging there, hollering, "Help! Help!" And I remember seeing a man standing right here. I know exactly where he was standing. He was standing right there. He was a friend of my oldest brother, Ed. Then the next thing I remember, I'm laying on the bank, spitting up water. And what I didn't realize, of course, at the time, because I didn't see it happen, he heard me and he saw me fall into the river, hanging on that rope. And he ran from here, ran all the way down here, jumped in with all his clothes on, and he pulled me under the water and revived me. And here I am today. I never ever saw that man after, like, later on in life. He got married and had a family and all that. Last fall, I found out he died. I went to his funeral. And at the funeral, I asked, during the ceremony, I asked his wife if I could speak at the funeral. And I told how we have what we have today, all because of his courage. Without him, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be standing here. We wouldn't have what we have. Our family would not exist. Wayne would not exist. None of it. Finally stood there and I said, "Thank you for what you did, Russ. We have what we have today because of you."
You have questions about the vaccine, and we want to hear from you. Join us for a very special CBC British Columbia Town Hall, Our Shot, Vaccinating BC, on March 10th at 7 p.m.
Meteorologist Nick Czernkovich joins us now for another look at the forecast. Some incredibly strong winds out there today.
Yeah, definitely. Thankfully, they're sort of starting to peter out now as we head into the evening hours, but we're not quite done with the winds just yet. We're going to see them pick up again tomorrow night, although I don't think they're going to be quite as strong as what we had earlier this morning. Still dealing with a few showers across the region as well. Not a whole lot of rainfall, and I said this over the last couple of days. It's not really going to be an unusual amount of rainfall. The winds were kind of the story for today, and tomorrow and into the Sunday, it's going to be a mix of the two, really, but not a ton of rain expected. A few showers pushing through still. We're actually seeing some breaks in the cloud cover right now, at least being reported in Vancouver Airport. However, as you look a little bit further to the west there's another system that's pushing through. So this is going to be number 3 of 3 with this particular storm. So as these showers kind of push off, tomorrow morning expect to see a few showers, but by and large not rain, just showers. And then as we head into the afternoon, we might actually pick up some sunny breaks as well as that cloud cover begins to break up. Then tomorrow evening, the winds begin to pick up again, and especially tomorrow night into Sunday, we're looking at stronger winds, gust about 50, maybe 60 kilometers per hour. Rain showers push through again with that third wave through Saturday into Sunday morning. Kind of showery conditions on Sunday there. But by the time we hit Monday, it all starts to break up and we're back into high pressure again. And that means we've got sunshine. Now, there is still the chance of seeing some showers on Monday. I think this model is being a little bit too optimistic. But by and large, we're looking at a clearing pattern here. And certainly by the time we hit sort of mid-Monday onward, mostly to the end of next week, we're looking at pretty good conditions there, largely sunny or a mix of sun and cloud into next week's forecast. In terms of how much rain you can expect from now onward till Sunday, about 20 millimeters. So not a whole lot more, though, as you get out to the west coast of Vancouver Island. Temperature-wise, we're still sitting at 9 degrees right now in Vancouver. And there's a look at the rest of the temperatures across the province. Tomorrow, not much has changed in terms of the temperatures. You've still got a few showers on the coast there, sunshine as you head further inland. And again, might even see some sunny breaks in some of these areas, especially toward the south. Now, as we head into Sunday, again, more in the way of some wet weather there, but Monday things begin to clear up. Slight chance we'll see a few rain showers there on Monday, mostly in the morning though. Tuesday, Wednesday, and actually even into Thursday, it looks like we're basically getting a mix of sun and cloud, double digits. Mike and Tina.
All right, well, we can look forward to that. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
Well, for a Nova Scotia brother and sister, their bond is now tighter than ever.
Logan Quinn saved Paige's life 3 weeks ago, and today she was finally able to leave the hospital.
As Elizabeth Chu tells us, Logan is sharing the story of how he came to her rescue so others can spring into action during an emergency.
I'd do it for anybody, I guess.
On Valentine's Day, 24-year-old Logan Quinn discovered his 15-year-old sister, Paige, his only sibling, lying on the floor. She'd suffered a cardiac arrest.
I kind of like touched her face and her head just kind of flopped to the side. So I ran into my mom's room. I said, she's not breathing or moving.
And what he did next is why Paige is alive today. Logan called 911, and with help from the dispatcher, he performed CPR.
I just kind of went into like tunnel vision mode. Like everything else just kind of closed off, and I just went into like, you gotta do something.
And what were you thinking as you were giving your sister chest compressions?
That she'd wake up. I didn't want her to die.
She was airlifted from her home in Moncton to the IWK. She's been diagnosed with long QT syndrome, a rare condition that can cause sudden death.
What do you think about what this young man did for his sister?
She could have died. So only she's alive today because of that effective CPR before paramedics came.
During Paige's 3-week hospital stay, Logan and their mom never left her side.
Thanks, for obviously helping our boy.
Now, Paige is being discharged from hospital. She has a defibrillator implanted in her chest, medications, and her family trained in CPR. Logan and Paige's doctor are encouraging everyone to learn the life-saving skill.
Has she said much to you about this experience?
Not really, but I got the feeling, she's grateful, like my mom. It's all right. I know she is. I don't need to hear it. I have that feeling, we both love each other, so.
Elizabeth Chu, CBC News, Halifax.
So what do you do if you're trying to make an avatar of yourself, but there's no option for something that's a big part of your identity? I'll show you how this student pushed for change next.
Downey Thompson pulls into the yard at Elmsdale Lumber. So how long have you worked here?
Monday I started on my 75th year.
You heard that right, 75 years. But that's just here. Before that, he worked with his father in the woods.
10 years old, I worked in the woods some with father.
When you were 10?
10, and then I came here. I was 15, come with this company.
And you heard that right, too. Since he was 15, he's had a job. And the soon-to-turn 90-year-old, who's also a member of the Forestry Hall of Fame, is still showing up. Sick days? Never. The president of the company is Robin Wilbur.
No, I've never seen him with a cold or the flu. How do you not get the sniffles? So I've never seen him sick.
Now, a lot has changed in forestry since Downey started. Back then, they used oxen and horses to pull the logs out. And there were no cranes to move the logs once they got them to the mill.
A pair of horses on a sled, and 2 men picked the logs up, one each end, set them on, and that's how we got them into the mill.
He loves this business.
Yeah, he does. That's what keeps him going.
Yeah. That's Downey's son, Stephen, who's also the general manager at the lumber company. Now, while I can't verify it, Downey just might be the longest-serving employee in all of Canada. Downey's primary job these days, besides passing along his knowledge, signing the checks.
We joke about it that if he just wasn't here, which he, for some reason, a little late or something, which never happens, but we joke about it that nobody would dare sign them because that's his job, and he takes great pride in that, and we think that's fantastic.
Downey still owns several woodlots. I'm heading out to one of them that he's owned since the 1940s. Forester Jason Casey's taking me there. Even back in the 40s, Downey would plant a new tree for every one he took out.
Just his mindset on forestry, I think he was, way ahead of his time.
There's nobody in the forest industry in Nova Scotia that doesn't know Downey Thompson. It's a thing.
How much longer do you see yourself working?
Oh, I hopefully till I drop dead.
It's been a running joke for all who know him that Downey has sap in his veins, not blood. Maybe that's his longevity secret. Colleen Jones, CBC News, Elmsdale.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox. Celebrate International Women's Day with Anita Bath at BIV's virtual Influential Women in Business Awards luncheon. Get your tickets today at BIV.com. And do you have questions about the vaccine? Tune in to CBC TV and radio on March 10th at 7 p.m. for our town hall, Our Shot, Vaccinating BC. Get all the details at cbc.ca/ourshot.
A 13-year-old Ontario student is being celebrated for speaking out and sparking change.
When creating his avatar for virtual school, he noticed the head covering he wears wasn't an option.
So with the help of his teacher, they tried to find a solution. Talia Ricci tells us what happened next.
I wanted to make an avatar to be a part of the class photo.
A fun way to capture a virtual classroom. But for Karanveer Singh Anand, something important was missing.
Since I'm sick, I wear a patka, and that's basically a cloth that you tie around your head to cover it. There really wasn't anything like that in the Pixton avatar editor. When I originally saw that, I was pretty disappointed and sad, but I just thought that there really wasn't anything I could do.
His teacher, Ms. Angel, also noticed his avatar didn't represent his Sikh culture.
He seemed kind of bummed out, and so I asked permission if we could email Pixton. Change can happen, and I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I hope that I can give my students. They actually asked if Karanveer could gather some images together that would best represent his culture.
We also used some of the reference images to choose some of the colors that we used as well. And so I think it turned out he was pretty darn happy about that. And we learned something. Sometimes we miss something or we don't know about it. And so our users come back to us with this information. And the second that they tell us about it, we try to get it in there just to make sure that everybody is represented.
Soon after, the grade 8 student was pleased to see these new options.
They actually added it in. And I was so happy and so glad.
Representation really matters. Particularly in this online environment.
If you could deliver a message to the student who did this, what would you say to him?
I'd say that we're very proud of what you did, and standing up and recognizing a problem is important, but then finding a solution is even more important.
How did it feel when you got to recreate your avatar and actually make it look like you?
I was really happy that, I could finally be who I am. It just feels really good. when you can make a difference in the world, make your culture really bright, shine brightly, and to be able to wear Butka and pride.
And share his class photo with pride, too. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's no doubt other situations that are probably similar to that, so it's great to see the company adapting when somebody lets them know, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you can also watch CBC Vancouver newscasts online anytime at cbc.ca/BC.
Our next local news is right here at 11 o'clock tonight with Tina. Thanks for filling in for balance of this week, Tina.
Hey, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching tonight. Have a great night, a great weekend.
Good night.